Hello everyone and welcome to Blaugrana Everything and welcome back to the channel and welcome to our typical setup here and welcome once again to winning ways at the Metropolitano. It's been a while since we won there. I mean, last season, sure, but I mean, this season we got cooked the last time we were here, okay? And I hope the next time we come here in the Champions League, we can at least get another positive result. Barcelona beating Atletico de Madrid by 2-1 here in week 30 of La Liga. Yep, week 30 of La Liga. Only 8 more matches, and more importantly, it's a win that takes Barcelona now 7 points clear of Real Madrid. If we look at the standing, it's right over here. And look, I know it's going to be a lot of people who have stuff to say, like, oh, it's because Atleti had a man sent off. It's because, Barcelona had a red card for Gerard Martin, rescinded and changed to a yellow. And I'll let the people who want to debate that decision debate it. Personally, I honestly I was cool with Barcelona here. I would say just not losing this game. I was cool with Barcelona getting a draw. And I would say generally that was my outlook on this match up until the moment that Marc Bernal went off injured. And the reason that is because at that point now, Barcelona lost 2 players. First, Ronald Araujo in the first half. Second, of course, Marc Bernal in the second half pretty early on. And it meant that you needed to win this game now to justify the fact that 2 of your players just got injured. Also, you need to win it because of what winning this game would mean. Okay, first of all, like we've already said, winning this game meant that Barcelona moved 7 points clear at the top of Real Madrid, thanks to Real Madrid losing to Mallorca, which was a result I did not exactly see coming. I thought maybe they would draw, you know what I mean? But they actually lost, and that's good for us. It's also good for us because when you look at Barcelona's upcoming matches, right? I mean, obviously there's, first of all, the match that is coming up this week against Atleti at Camp Nou, okay? And then after that, you've got this trip, we've got this visit of Espanyol, and then you're going away to Atleti. And for me, I think that winning this game today, what it does for Barcelona is that it means against Espanyol, they can actually rest their players, Unlike today where, we had Yamal playing the entire 90, you had Pedri playing the entire 90, and, you're going to need those guys again in midweek. What this means, though, having won today, is that against Espanyol, Barcelona can now actually rest players like Yamal, give Rooney the full 90 minutes, though I don't know if Flick will actually do that. He never does that, okay? But that's something that they could do, give maybe a start to Gavi as well so he can get some rhythm, in his legs, because if Bernal is out, depending how long Bernal is out for, you're going to probably need Gavi to chip in with some minutes, and maybe it could be a good chance to try and, blood in Frankie de Jong as well. I don't know. We'll see how all of that goes, but the whole point here is that it now becomes a possibility for Barcelona to rest players against Espanyol. Espanyol, who, there you can see they're a top 10 team. They could probably be able to end this winless run they've been on in the last 5, but I would still suggest Barcelona do the rotations, because we know that during the same time as well, Real Madrid will be resting players because they'll be they'll be traveling to Munich, and that same weekend. So, Barca have got Espanyol. I know Real Madrid have got some other, like, cannon fodder. I don't know who it is. But the point here is that the win and the 7 points for Barca now means that they can rest players. And the win coming the way that it did through, Robert Lewandowski and through Marcus Rashford, 2 players who have really been kind of fringe for Barcelona. Rashford, not so much at the start, but definitely since the turn of the year. And the 2 of them basically coming up with the goods for Barca here is pretty big because, Yamal, despite all of the good work that he did today, the finish just wasn't there. And I know for a lot of people, they're going to say, this was like, a stinker from Yamal. Nah, it wasn't. he was still doing the Yamal things. He was creating chances, he was dribbling players, but the problem was just that his finishing today. I mean, that one chance that hit the crossbar, what more could you ask? The ball just did not want to find the back of the net for him, but he had some, pretty wonderful moves in this match. Unfortunately, they just didn't result in goals for him. And, when that's happening, for me, usually I just think, he probably needs a rest. You know what I'm saying? He probably needs a rest. And now he'll be able to get it. And it's going to be thanks to the contributions today of both Robert Lewandowski and Marcus Rashford. I guess if you just have enough guys who are in the business of, scoring goals and making goal-related activities happen, then eventually you're going to get the goals. And I should, however, stress at this point that in as much as Atleti were down to 10 men, this also was not Atleti's strongest lineup. You know what I mean? Let's just go back there to see this team again. Once again, here we go, lineups. And if we look at this is not Atleti's strongest lineup, okay? No Julian Alvarez. You could argue, I don't know if Sorloth is starter or not, but no Alvarez, no Lookman, and you had Nico Gonzalez playing left back, and Clement Longley, who, got the assist for Giuliano Simeone, but, Clement Longley playing. That doesn't happen. So Atleti did rest quite a few players, and we know they're resting them for the midweek game at Camp Nou. So there's going to be that, and hopefully Barcelona can still, get a good result there. I thought this time around, this match could have been over even in the first half, because Barca in that first half had quite a few chances to score. Fermin Lopez and, like I said, Yamal, for example, who got the best chances in that first half, and the ball just wouldn't go into the back of the net. And, credit, I guess, to some extent to Musso, because he didn't make some pretty good saves here, especially from Ferran Torres in the second half. But, man, overall, if you're Barcelona, this was a very good day out. You got the win. You got to go 7 points clear. Now, what the cost of that win is the question, because what's going to be the health of Bernal and Araujo. I realize Araujo might not be a fan favorite. He might not be he might not be that guy, but you're still going to need minutes from players like him, who at least can give something. He wasn't terrible today, not by any means, and he was subbed off from what we can see because of discomfort. And Pedri at some point as well looked like he was in some discomfort. So, man, we're going to have to wait and see what the cost of this win was. But aside from that, guys, welcome back from the international break. We lost Rafinha, so him not being there, especially these matches against Atleti, I feel a little less confident. No shade to Marcus Rashford, who, in my opinion, was one of Barcelona's, I would say, 3 or 4 best players today. I would say Barca's best players today. I mean, you can almost already see them here. Kubasi, Pedri, Rashford himself, and I would throw Yamal in there as well, because, like I said, despite him not scoring, he did quite a lot for Barcelona in this match. Looking at things like, his passing was generally spot on. He did create some chances. He also was, as usual, pretty useful with his dribbling and carrying of the ball, but it's just, it's his shooting which let him down. Expected goals of 0.54, and he wasn't able to score once. Nah, it's not the best. It's not the best look. It's not the best look. But aside from that, really, I don't have that much to add. It's just really maybe talking about looking forward to midweek and seeing what's going to happen once Barcelona host Atleti. And man, Real Madrid lost at the end of the day, so there's always that. But aside from that, thank you all for tuning in. To have a great day, and Forza Barça.